Brazil's government decreed 3 days of mourning after the physical departure of the legendary player Edson Arantes do Nascimento, known as Pelé. Air traffic in the United States continues to be affected by the passage of Storm Elliott. And in South Korea, the death toll rose to 6 after a fire broke out in the highway tunnel in Gwacheon, south of the country's capital. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada, and these are the news. 3 days of mourning were decreed by the Brazilian government after the passing away or the physical departure of the legendary player Edson Arantes do Nascimento, known as Pelé. On Thursday, the mourning period began and will remain in force until December 31st, according to a decree published in the official Gazette of the Union. The Brazilian champion lost his life in Sao Paulo at the age of 82 after several days of hospitalization during which he was treated for colon cancer, causing great commotion at international level. Likewise, the state of Sao Paulo and mayor's office of City of Santos, where the ex-footballer developed an important part of his career, extended the mourning for 7 days. And after learning of Pelé's death, personalities from politics and sports have expressed their deep regret and acknowledged the brilliant sporting career of the king of soccer. The president-elect of Brazil, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, on his official Twitter profile wrote, "I had the privilege that younger Brazilians did not have. I saw Pelé play, live at Pacaembu and Morumbi. Play, no. I saw Pelé put on a show, because when he had the ball, he always did something special, which often ended on a goal." President Nicolás Maduro Moros also expressed his condolences on Twitter. He said on Twitter, "One of the greatest football players in history, Edson Arantes do Nascimento, the great Pelé, departs from eternity. From Venezuela, they extend their condolences to his family, friends, and the great fans who will remember him forever. Long live Pelé." And the French football player Kylian Mbappé, but his legacy will never be forgotten. Argentine President Alberto Fernandez also made public his feelings about the departure of the Brazilian star via Twitter, describing him as one of the best football players in history, and noting that those years when Pelé dazzled the world with his skills will be always remembered. Likewise, he sent his condolences to the family and all the Brazilian people. And to honor the late football star, we now have a remembrance on the life and career of Pelé.
Arantes do Nascimento, known as Pelé, is considered by many as the best player of all times. He started playing in the streets of Brazil until he joined the youth team of Club Atlético de Bauru at the age of 13 and later to Santos of Sao Paulo, which catapulted him to the World Cups. Football legend Pelé was born on October 23rd of 1940 in the Brazilian town of Três Corações in the state of Minas Gerais. At the age of 17, he was already a star of Brazilian football, scoring 2 impressive goals in the match between Brazil and Sweden in the '48 World Cup, where the South American won 5-2. Then, in Chile '62, he managed to score an unforgettable goal against Mexico, despite being injured at that time. The success continued in Mexico '70, and in 1969, King Pelé scored his 1000th goal. His last game was in New Jersey in 1977, accumulating a total of 1,283 goals through his career. Pelé played his last game in New Jersey on October 1st of 1977 after scoring 767 goals in 831 official games, was known as a man without presumption or arrogance, loved by millions of football fans. A father who cared about the fate of Brazilian children, was the leader and won 3 of the 5 World Cup trophies that Brazil have won, and this is why the world and his country will always remember him with great admiration for his humility and his imprint on the history of the Latin American football.
And Pelé, along with Diego Armando Maradona, were 2 of the greatest soccer players in the world. In the following material, we will review the relationship and the friendship between the two.
1979 in Copacabana, Rio de Janeiro, was the first meeting of these South American stars and masters of the world football, where they were invited to meet and settle the ugly rumors of their rivalry to be the best in the world. All that was overturned because these football giants had a good time. After this meeting, the rivalries and the difference became bigger, and the media also played their part in this. However, the last public appearance of both were in peace, with a visible reconciliation until the passing of Diego Maradona on November 25th of 2020. But there was a very important encounter in 2005. This time, it was on television, a show on Channel 13 in Argentina called La Noche del Diez, hosted by Maradona himself, where he received Pelé as his guest. They exchanged their autographed captain bracelets dedicated to the sons and daughters of both. But not only that, both also played to head the ball, leaving that match marked in the history of football forever. It should be noted that this encounter is recognized as the most iconic of them all. It broke all audience records with these 2 legends of world football.
Now we move on to other topics. Air traffic in the United States continues to be affected after the passage of Storm Elliott. Authorities confirmed that nearly 4,000 flights have been canceled in the last 24 hours, which means that air traffic has yet to recover from the effects of the winter storm. Elliott has affected much of the country since late last week and has left more than 50 dead across the country. One of the hardest hit areas has been Erie County in northwest New York, where 37 deaths have been reported. And migrant advocates in the United States repudiated the Supreme Court's decision to keep in force the so-called Title 42, which allows the rapid expulsion of migrants seeking asylum. The ruling, first implemented in 2020 by the administration of former President Donald Trump, served as a pretext to expel more than 2 million migrants who arrived at the country's border. Thousands of these rejected migrants denounced that several of these individuals were kidnapped and assaulted by criminals dedicated to human trafficking after being deported. Human rights organizations have tracked 13,480 reports of migrants murdered, tortured, kidnapped, raped, and killed after being expelled under Title 42 since the beginning of Joe Biden's administration. Let's take a short break, but first, remember you can follow us on our TikTok account at TeleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. Brazilian President-elect Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva presented the ministers who will be part of his government ahead of the first day of his administration on January the 1st. Lula da Silva announced the names of 16 ministers who joined the additional 21 names already confirmed up to last week to complete the list of 37 heads of ministries of the new government. The president-elect pointed out that of all his named ministers, 11 are women, which sets a new record in the country's political history. He also ensured that his cabinet was defined after many conversations, discussions, and adjustments.
I believe that the misrule to which Brazil has been subjected during all these years will make us work twice as hard to recover. I am happy because never before in Brazil's history have there been so many women ministers. Neither have we had an indigenous woman minister from the indigenous peoples. Yesterday I spoke to Sonia, who is a new experience on which we all have to work to help.
And then the elected president of Brazil, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, assured that the social area destroyed by the outgoing government will have to be rebuilt.
I want to say now to all the fellow candidates who were nominated that they are part of the history of this country, at a time when we had the courage to take over Brazil in an extremely delicate situation, a Brazil that was destroyed in many of the things we did. Almost everything in the social area was destructured, and we will have to build it anew, but with much more competence, more willingness and disposition, because that was the reason why I ran again for the presidency of the Republic.
The president-elect also urged the new officials to build a democratic government with technical and political personnel.
You need to be as democratic as possible in the construction of your government. It is important that we look for technically competent people with technical qualification. In my government, we're not afraid of electing politicians because I am one of those who think there's no solution for almost anything in the planet outside politics. I am convinced that we must assemble the best and brightest for our ministry so we can all start working. If you all share my optimism and my determination to work, get ready because I like to walk a lot, work a lot, and do many things at the same time. And I hope that you, all younger than me, are even more enthusiastic about it.
Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro Moros approved the annual Habitat and Housing Plan with the goal of building a total of 500,000 new homes by 2023. According to the authorities, the plan rests upon 5 pillars for the coming year and contemplates the participation of the people's power and the social protection of the Venezuelan family. The project establishes the continuity of projects of the Great Housing Mission, the deepening of the local strategic development plans, and the self-construction and co-management of the people's power. The head of state stressed that by 2023, Venezuela will guarantee basic services for the benefit of its people. And the president, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, thanked his Cuban counterpart, Díaz-Canel, for his support in sending specialist doctors to strengthen the national public health system. During the morning press conference broadcast from the presidential palace, AMLO denied the lack of supplies in the Mexican hospitals and informed about the hiring of more foreign doctors. He also detailed the Cuban government had sent 500 specialists in the past few days. On the other hand, the Mexican president expressed that they are working on the effectiveness of the distribution of medicines to public hospitals to strengthen the nation's health sector. And we have more news coming up after a final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. In South Korea, the death toll rose to 6 after a fire broke out in a highway of the country's capital. According to the National Fire Agency, another 37 people were injured after the incident occurred. Authorities indicated that the incident was caused by a collision between a bus and a truck, which caught fire and spread the flames throughout the tunnel. The fire department also reported that the fire was completely extinguished and destroyed 44 vehicles in its path. In Mali, at least 46 soldiers from Ivory Coast to be tried on mercenary charges. The judicial process begins just days before January the 1st, 2023, the date set by the West African leaders for the Malian government to release the troops or face regional sanctions. The troops were apprehended at the Bamako airport while providing backup security for the German contingent of the UN peacekeeping mission in Mali. The Ivorian military personnel could be sentenced from 10 to 20 years in prison, which will increase hostilities between the Ivory Coast and Mali. In Zimbabwe, the government bans all raw lithium exports. The country was losing 1.7 billion euros from exporting as a raw material and a mineral and no processing it into batteries in country. Zimbabwe was the largest amount of the mineral in Africa and has enough of it to supply a fifth of the world's needs, while it's on track to becoming one of the world's largest lithium exporters. Lithium is so valuable as a component of electronic batteries, mostly for cell phones and electric vehicle batteries, that is known as white gold. The price has gone up by 1,100% by the past 2 years alone. The government argues the country should start its own battery industry rather than allow foreign companies to dominate battery production. Zimbabwe's Ministry of Mines and Mining Development said that it will take drastic measures against artisanal miners who extract lithium and smuggle it across the borders. And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.